Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Crafting and Crime Daily. I'm Rebecca, your host, and I recap live trials so you have something to listen to while you're creating these masterpieces. We all love to diamond paint or crochet, and we'd like to have something to listen to. And today I'm going to be recapping the live trial of Chad Daybell, day 25. The prosecution has arrested, and let me tell you, the testimony before they arrested was pretty incriminating for Chad Daybell, like nail in the coffin type testimony. And then there was this drama after they arrested that you're going to want, don't go anywhere. You're going to want to hear what this was all about. So the last witness was on the stand yesterday. But before we get to that, I will tell you Chad Daybell is on trial for the murders of Tylee Ryan, JJ Vallow, and Tammy Daybell. Also conspiracy to commit those murders and insurance fraud. Yes. So day 25. The last witness is Doug Hart with the FBI. His job was to go through Lori Vallow's iCloud accounts, and she had two. Lori for Style and Lolly Time. And he said that there were thousands of pictures and videos and text and emails. This man had to go through all those. And some of them were pretty nauseating, but he did it. And then he put together something that would aid the jury, a demonstrative piece of evidence where he talks about the most incriminating things that he found. So the first thing he talks about, first he talks about he was there the day that the bodies were exhumed from their shallow graves behind Chad Daybell's home. And that night, Chad's children had agreed to speak to him. But then they, he goes over their house and they said, yeah, we'll talk to you. And they set up an appointment. And then the appointment time comes and they've already talked to Chad and they're like, nope, we're not talking. So next week, we're going to hear what those kids have to say. Can't wait. So the first message, now let me just set the scene here. Like I said, this is all via the video's Zoom court feed. So you see the judge, it's divided into 4 screens. The judge, Chad and his lawyer, John Pryor, the prosecution table, and then the witness, the witness, and then the screen where you can see these messages. And if I squinted really hard, I could read them. I would have to stop the video and try to read them. And unfortunately, what the prosecutor was doing was she'd say, I'm going to pause and let the jury read these. I'm like, no, read them to me. I can't read those. I'm blind. But I was able to make out most of what those text messages contained. And then she would ask Doug Hart to comment on the significance of these entries, or what he thought through his investigation the significance of these entries were. So there was, the first was July 18th, several exchanges between Chad and Lori. And one, he said there was 3 critical components to this set of text messages. Chad was being instructed, I don't know by who, to focus his efforts on Tylee. Now, July 18th is 7 days after Charles is dead. Charles was killed on July 11th. So 7 days later, someone is instructing Chad to focus now on Tylee. And that, so Lori kept, and this is a theme that Doug Hart said throughout his testimony, that Lori's constantly asking him for percentages. Well, what is the percentage, the death percentage? So apparently the higher it is, the farther away you are from death. And if it gets to 0, then yeah, you're out of there. So she kept asking about the death percentages of JJ and Tylee. Can you check that, Chad? Can you check? Here's what was going on with that. Charles died July 11th. So she no longer has help. And this was pointed out to the jury. She no longer has help with JJ. And we know that JJ was autistic and he had these behaviors. I don't know that they were disruptive or, I'm assuming hyperactive and focused, and he's not an easy child to care for. And whenever he would have some of these behaviors, she would say, "Hey, Chad, can you check the percentage?" Yeah, it's not funny, but anyway, that's what was going on there. So, and this goes back and forth for like 3 weeks. She keeps asking him, "What's the percentages of Tylee, JJ, and Tammy?" Then there was also references during these emails to Chad would be able to turn up the pain. He could cause these children pain, and he had turned up Tylee's pain to 10, and they were going to put a spiritual virus into her. No idea what that means. Then Chad comments during one of these exchanges, extreme changes are coming, and extreme changes are coming to his life, and he welcomes them. Then there was another exchange where Lori says she's pushing for Blake's percentages. That's Melanie's 3-year-old son. He was 3 years old at this time. She's pushing for Blake's percentages. Melanie Boudreau. Now, Brian Boudreau testified that his son Blake and JJ were good friends. Anyway, so Chad tells her that he can decrease his pain tolerance and then increase his pain. Why? Oh my God. So, and then throughout these text messages, the plan is referenced a lot, this plan. Then there was one text message where Lori is traveling in her car in California somewhere. She's got the kids in the car, Tylee and JJ, and they're probably not behaving the best, and so Chad says he can cause them pain if she'd like him to. He's got some incredible abilities, Chad does. And then there's a lot of text messages where Chad will say things and then he'll say, "I'll explain. I will explain," which tells the jury, this is coming from Chad. This whole plan is Chad's. He's going to explain the plan. Please do. So then some text messages August 7th, where Lori says to Chad, she's tired of taking care of demons. Please ask the Lord to take them. Now, it just so happens that when she's sending this text message to him, Chad and Alex are at the temple because they sent pictures to her of them at this temple. So she's like, "Hey, while you're there, can you tell the Lord to I'm tired of taking care of these demons. Could he handle it?" Then to some messages of August 10th, where, again, Lori is asking Chad to check on Tylee, to check on JJ's percentages. And he keeps telling her, "Can you check on JJ?" She keeps saying, "Can you check on JJ?" And he's like, "No, JJ is still JJ. He's, there's nothing going on with JJ." So, but then there is this exchange that I need you to listen to. For obvious reasons. After you hear it, you'll understand why I showed it to you.
And Agent Hart, is this again a continuation of the previous 2 slides?
It is.
Who are these messages being exchanged between?
Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell.
What about these particular messages stood out to you in relation to the investigation?
This particular conversation is some of the most critical evidence that I located within the iCloud. It represents the clearest and most specific reference.
Judge, I'm going to object again. This is speculation.
Overruled.
It represents the clearest and most specific reference to a plan regarding Tylee and JJ. That plan is spearheaded by Chad Daybell.
Judge, I'm going to object at this point. That's a narrative
Also,
and it's argumentative,
it's sustained.
and I'm going to move to strike.
That last part of the comment is stricken.
When you indicate that there's the reference to the plan, who is asking if there's a plan?
Lori Vallow is asking Chad Daybell if there is a, quote, perfectly orchestrated plan to take the children.
What is Chad's response?
Chad's response is that there is a plan being orchestrated for the children.
Where were Tylee and JJ's remains ultimately located?
On Chad Daybell's property.
Yeah. Like this was the clearest and most specific reference to the plan. She's just she's just out now saying it. Is there a plan? A perfectly orchestrated plan? Yes, there is. There is. Yep. And the part that the judge struck from the record, where this officer, this investigator says that it was spearheaded by Chad Daybell. Like that was a conclusion he was probably not allowed to come up with. So the jury was supposed to disregard that. Like that cat's out of the bag. Chad spearheaded it. So what that means is like nobody can go back in the jury room and talk about, hey, remember when he said Chad was the spearhead? No. That was stricken from the record. You're not allowed to consider that. It's not evidence. But it's in their brain. Okay. And Lori says, well, what should I be doing? This is right after this exchange. And he says, you're doing everything right. Chad tells her, you're doing everything right. You're a goddess. They would always end these exchanges with these love. Oh, I miss you. I want you. Oh. Yep. Anyway, September 3rd, there's some exchanges between Alex and Lori where Alex is telling her, they've moved to Rexburg now. And Alex is telling her he set up the Wi-Fi password. And the Wi-Fi password is too many kids. And she's like, funny. Yeah. And then Alex texts her back and says, no more zombies. No more zombies. It doesn't say zombies, but Z's. And Lori says to Alex, we're trying to get to the bottom of what we need to do to eliminate them completely. I'm sure you'll be told also. What? And then this is September 3rd. 5 days later, Tylee is never seen again. Never again. So creepy. Oh my gosh. All right. Then on October 5th, there's some messages between Chad and Lori. Big news about Tammy. Got some big news. Yep. She's been switched. Tammy's in limbo, but I have connected with Tammy in limbo, and she's very upset and frustrated, and she wants me to get rid of Viola. That's what they called the demon that was inside of Tammy. He actually goes on to say there's like 3 demons in her and whatever. So he's like, as soon as I can get confirmation of all this, I need to get it done. I don't want to wait. I don't want to wait on the removal of these demons out of her body, which removal means you're dead. So then the last thing he shows is, and then we know October 9th, 4 days after this exchange about the big news about Tammy, there's the attempted shooting of Tammy. Then October 19th, there's an interesting exchange between someone who calls or who texts Lori, hey, it's 6 o'clock in the morning, like really early on October 19th, the day after Tammy has died that night, early in the morning. This is just a few hours later. 911 was called at 6 something. And this is 6 something in the morning. I apologize. I don't know the exact time, but this person is telling her, hey, did you hear about Tammy? She died. And she's like, oh my God, I did not hear that. Do you know what? And oh my God, I did not hear that. And then she says, I'm in Hawaii. And then the other person says, well, do you know what happened? And she's like, yeah, yes, I know what happened. This is all one stage within minutes. 6:34. I do remember the time. 6:34 is when she's told, Tammy died. Remember, 911 was called back at Chad's house in Idaho at 6 a.m. Anyway, do you know what happened at 10:37? She says, yes, I know what happened. 6:37, not 10:37. At 6:37, 3 minutes later, she's like, yeah, I know what happened. Wait a minute. You just said, oh my God, you hadn't heard that. And 3 minutes later, you know what happened? Yeah. And she's like, she choked and she vomited and yeah, she knew. She knew. And then the investigator said during everything that he reviewed, there were never any expressions of grief over Charles Vallow's death or Lori Vallow's. Charles Vallow's death or Tammy Daybell's death by either Chad or Lori. No grief whatsoever. So that was it. State rests. So then the jury is dismissed. They're told to come back on Monday because they need to have, as I told you yesterday, they had to have the defense argue their motion for judgment of acquittal. And what that is, it's a routine motion that the defense always, you have to make this motion in order to secure your appeals. Like you can't appeal later on if you haven't made this motion. So I'm just telling you. So it's going to be denied. It's always denied, but he makes the motion on these multiple counts that his client is charged with, 3 counts of first-degree murder, 3 counts of conspiracy to commit murder, the fraud. It's like 10, 11 counts of criminal activity. And he moves for judgment of acquittal. In other words, he's asking the judge to just say, hey, their prosecution, in the light most favorable to the prosecution, they have not proved beyond a reasonable doubt these charges. And so the judge hears argument, and the argument for the response by the prosecution to the defense's argument was given by an appellate attorney, not either of the prosecutors. They had an appellate attorney there, very good one too. And she reiterated the response. She had prepared it ahead of time because, like I said, this is not an unusual motion. It's going to be made. We know it. So the judge says, all right, before I make my decision, I need to inform you that charge number 4, first-degree murder of J.J. Vallow. During the first charging document, the dates of death were between September 22nd and September 23rd. Yes, that's correct dates of death. But prosecution, you moved to amend your charging document, and I granted you leave to amend your document. And when you amended it, the document now says that J.J. Vallow's death occurred between September 8th and September 9th. He says, there's been no evidence in this trial that J.J. Vallow died between September 8th and 9th. We know, in fact, that he was alive. Evidence has shown that he was seen alive after those dates. And the law is that once you rest your case, you can't amend that charging document again. It's another name for indictment. You can't amend the indictment once you've rested your case. So, and I will point out, this was not something that the defense attorney picked up on. But boy, did he jump on the bandwagon. He's like, yep, I'm going to be prejudiced if you don't grant this, Then he's like, I need a directed verdict on that charge. Of course you do. Too bad you didn't notice it before. Anyway, and he acted like, oh, I knew about it. I just wasn't going to say anything. Yeah, okay. So the judge says, I'm going to give you guys prosecution 2 hours. Because the prosecution was like, can we have until Monday to respond? And the judge is like, no. The defense needs to prepare their case, and they need to know what charges their client is facing to prepare their case for Monday. So you got 2 hours. So now outside the courtroom, everybody's like, you can hear, you can watch video from Hidden True Crime, from Nate Eaton, of these people just milling about in total shock, including J.J. Vallow's grandfather. bless his heart. I mean, it was so sad, so sad. He's like, everybody was just in disbelief. No, but because they're not lawyers, they don't know what's going to happen. What's going to happen? We don't know. We don't know. And I'm a lawyer, and I don't know, like, because I don't practice law up there. I don't know what the case law says. So 2 hours go by, and on the dot, the judge comes out, and the prosecution, the appellate lawyer for the prosecutors, sits down, and bless her heart, this is why she's an appellate lawyer. She's good. She's good. And what she said was, all right, when the prosecution asked to amend the indictment, the charging document, the specific amendments they were asking for were like 3 different things. And the dates of JJ's death was not something they were asking to amend, because you have to ask the judge for permission to amend the indictment. Then he'll grant you permission, and you can only amend those things that you talked about. And the dates were not one of them. She said, the dates, this is clearly an error. Somebody's, effed up, frankly. Like, I'm like, oh boy, some heads rolling down, because now this is the second time. I pointed this out to my sister. This is the second time this prosecution has screwed up. In Lori Vallow's case, they didn't respond to discovery in a timely fashion, and the death penalty got taken off the table. Now, it's a little bit more involved than that, but it was basically, narrated well on the part of prosecution. And then now this, oh, did you not proofread this thing? I know that you didn't type it. I get that. I never typed anything when I was an attorney. I had a secretary that did it, or a paralegal. But I still read through it to make sure it was accurate. In any case, nobody caught it except the judge. So there were some other arguments that the appellate lawyer made. She had some alternative arguments, because you always need to have some outs. But this is the one the judge latched onto. He said, he heard an argument from everybody, including John Pryor, going, oh, I'm going to be prejudiced. I'm going to be prejudiced because, I didn't say anything. How are you prejudiced? All the evidence supports that JJ died between September 22nd and September 3rd. What prejudice is there to you, anyway, or your client? And the prosecutor, the appellate attorney, brought out the fact that, you can't make the victims suffer because of a clerical error. Nobody wants to go through this again. So the judge, he said, I'm going to come back and give you my decision in a few minutes. He comes back. He wasn't gone long. Comes back, and he latched on to what I said, that he never gave the prosecutors leave to amend the dates. So the date change was obviously a clerical error. Now he's got to figure out, and he hasn't done this yet. So long story short, he denied all the other, judgment of acquittal on all of the other charges, and then ultimately denied judgment of acquittal on this charge as well. So you're not going to get a not guilty verdict on it. It's all going to a jury to decide. But now he's got to figure out, how is this charging document going to go to the jury without confusing them, because it still says September 8th through the 9th. So whether he allows them to amend it, he reopens the case, allows them to reopen their case and amend it, or is he going to give the jury an instruction to disregard those dates and, go by the evidence that you heard? I don't know. We'll see on Monday. So that is the show for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the content, and I will see you tomorrow. Oh, it's Friday dance day. Oh, hey, did you watch Bridgerton? Oh my God, Bridgerton season 3. It's here. I know it's not crime related. I get it, but it's enough to warrant the Friday dance. It's Friday, and there's no court today. Nothing to recap tomorrow, so no Saturday episode. But I will be back on Monday with a true crime story for you to start out the week. Have a great day, everybody.